Hey there, I'm Ash DaCosta, CTO of Mainland Information Systems, and I would like to welcome you to part 3 of Mainland's 3-part video series focusing on availability, disaster recovery, and data protection technologies offered by EMC. In parts 1 and 2, I described how businesses are now expecting ubiquitous cloud-like services from IT. End users are evaluating IT on continuous service delivery, which means high availability, data protection, and disaster recovery are no longer nice-to-haves, but must-haves. In part 1, I described how EMC vPlex can provide high availability between data centers. In part 2, I outlined how EMC RecoverPoint can augment EMC vPlex by providing disaster recovery capability with short recovery time and recovery point capability. Now in part 3, I'm going to illustrate how EMC Avamar can provide extended data protection capabilities for all parts of your IT infrastructure, especially virtual environments. EMC Avamar is a next-generation backup recovery solution that uses source-side deduplication to eliminate redundant data at the client before it's transferred across the network. Although Avamar can back up and restore all types of workloads, for this demo, I'm going to focus specifically on VMware API Data Protection, or VADP. Now let's discuss where Avamar fits in relation to vPlex and RecoverPoint. As mentioned in parts 1 and 2 of this video series, Mainland organizes availability in tiers of recovery capability. In this context, EMC Avamar is a Tier 3 availability solution, backup recovery, where data recovery on the order of hours to days is sufficient. All right, so let's begin. What you see here is Avamar's administration utility or interface. What we're going to do is I'm going to demonstrate first a backup operation using Avamar of a virtual machine. So what we'll do is we'll first go to the backup restore icon, and I'm going to select a virtual machine to back up. In this case, I'm going to select wguest01 as the virtual machine. I make sure that what I've selected is the tab that says select for backup. I'll expand that and I'll indicate what I want. I want basically its hard drive. It only has one hard drive in this case, and I'm going to select it to back up. I'll then go to actions. I'll say backup now. So this is a on-demand backup capability. You can certainly schedule if you wish, but for demonstration purposes, this is basically what I'm going to be doing for this particular scenario. So I've indicated retention period, 60 days is just fine, encryption is high, and say OK. So it's now initiating the backup request. I'll close the dialog box. I'll go to actions and I will view Avamar's activity. As you see right now, it's waiting on the client. And what it's doing, if I go to vCenter, it's actually creating a virtual machine snapshot. So it's creating a snapshot of the virtual machine so that you maintain some level of application and crash consistency. Once a snapshot is created, it will begin the backup operation. We'll just check the progress by hitting refresh. So as you see now, it's completed. For the sake of this demonstration, we've speeded up the actual operation. You can see it took, in actuality, 2 minutes and 53 seconds to do this backup of 15 gigabytes. And the reason for that is only a subset of actual data was sent. Anything that redundant was not sent over the wire. So the result, as you can see, it's only less than 1% of new bytes that was sent over. As you can see also over here in the previous backup is the same kind of story. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to do a restore operation from this. So I'll close this interface, the activity monitor, and I'm going to go to this same VM that I originally backed up, and I'm going to do a restore. But I'm going to do something slightly different. What I'm going to do is actually I'm going to do a restore of this data, but in a brand new virtual machine. So I'm going to use Avamar to create a brand new virtual machine from the backup of this particular virtual machine, the virtual machine called wguest01. So to do that, I clicked on the Select for Restore tab. I selected the image in which I want and all the contents. So in this case, I'm going to select the entire hard drive to be restored. Go over to Actions, and I'm going to say Restore Now. Now in this option, I have the option to actually restore to the original virtual machine. But in this case, I'm actually going to select Restore to a brand new virtual machine. Configure destination details, and I'm going to select the particular hard drive, or in this case VMDK file, of course, and select Browse. So basically it's going to ask me the name of the virtual machine that I want to create. I want to make it something obvious so that we can see what's going on. I'm going to call it New VM. Select Next. It'll want to know which host in which I want this virtual machine to be restored to. I'm going to select ESX01, which matches the ESX server that's over here in the vSphere client. And I select Finish. I confirm all these dialog boxes, and it's going to initiate a restore request. Close that. I will go to Actions, and I'm going to view activity. Now, if you noticed on the vCenter screen here through the vSphere client, the new VM has already started to appear. So right now, I'm actually using the image from wguest01 to create a brand new virtual machine on the fly. And so there we go. We have completed a restore operation. Again, for the sake of this demo, we sped up the video so that you could see what happened without having to wait. Basically, we have 6 minutes and 55 seconds is how much that restore operation took, and we restored 10 gigs into this new virtual machine. And the reason why it's less than the actual backup is because you used something called changed block tracking, which actually restores only the unique blocks of the virtual machine. So now that we've done that, we'll head over to the vCenter client, and what you basically see is this new VM that is being created. And we did that automatically. Everything was automatically registered with Virtual Center through Avamar. And this is an actual full VM. And to illustrate that point, I'm going to power it on. So the virtual machine is powering on right now. I'll go to the console, and you should see a crash-consistent version of this VM coming up. And there you go. You have a full running VM created completely by Avamar from the previous backup of Guest 01. And that's a demo of a backup recovery operation using EMC Avamar. This concludes Mainland's 3-part series on EMC's availability, disaster recovery, and data protection technologies. I hope you found it interesting and informative. If you have any questions, just drop me a line. Thanks very much for watching.